We're going to start our next unit by talking about different types of angles. So we're going to start by reviewing some basic geometry and different types of segments and line segments, rays and angles, and how we notate those. So here we are going to start with a line. Now a line, as you can see, goes on in both directions forever. It is straight, no curves. It extends in both directions indefinitely. And the symbol for a line is going to be like this. This, you will notice, this next one ends. So this is actually a line segment. Okay, it ends in both directions. So, and again, it has no curves, two fixed endpoints. We use just this. So say this was A and B, we would call this line AB. We would call this line segment AB. Now notice this one's a little bit different. This one has an endpoint and then goes in one direction indefinitely. This one is actually called a ray, just like me. So this is the symbol. Notice there is an arrow only on one side. And then this is an angle. It has two rays that share a common and fixed endpoint. We call that the vertex. And you can name an angle. We could call this angle A, B, C, or we could just call this angle B. Sorry, I hit a button. All right, so that hopefully is review for you. Let's talk about, oh my, new program. Mrs. Ray still trying to figure this out a little bit. Our next set is going to be talking about some different angles. So we have four technically different types of angles. We have an acute angle. This is an acute little angle, an angle that is in fact less than 90 degrees. An obtuse angle is going to be greater than 90 degrees. We have a right angle, which is exactly 90 degrees, and we denote a right angle with our little box in the center. And then a straight angle is going to be exactly 180 degrees. Again, that should be review for you. So now we're going to come over here. Some basic angle information continued, and we're going to look at a couple of these. So here I have an angle. There are different parts of the angle that we need to make sure we are aware of. This is our angle mark. This is showing you exactly where the angle is. And then of course we talked about this, the ray that the point where the two rays meet is going to be called the vertex of the angle. And that also gives you where the name is. The labeling of angles is extremely important. The middle letter is always where the vertex is. So we could write this as angle A, B, C, or we could also write this angle C, B, A if we went the other direction. Or simply angle B. More than likely, though, we want to name it with 3 letters. That's just going to be more specific for us. So let's look down here at complementary angles. So complementary angles are going to be two angles that add up to equal 90 degrees. So first we have our two angles. We have angle 1, and then notice this one has 2 marks. This is going to be angle 2. So we could even put some letters here. We could say A, B, C, and we can put the D here. So you can see that C, B, D plus D, B, A does in fact equal our right angle. We can see our symbol there. So ABC is a right angle. So for example, maybe this was 30 and this was 60. Then we could see, yes, that 30 plus 60 is 90. The next type of angle we're going to talk about is vertical or opposite angles. Now, this one is probably new to you. So we have our different angles. We have angle ABC, and then we have angle DBE. We also have angle ABD and CBE. Notice these little markings. So these markings, this one has one and this one has one. That tells you that they are congruent or equal. And they are opposite each other. So vertical or opposite angles are going to be formed by two intersecting lines, and the angles that are opposite each other are equal to each other. So let's make a little note about that. Vertical is usually what we hear. You could write opposite also. Vertical angles are equal to each other. They are congruent always. Supplementary angles is kind of an elaboration of complementary. You may have seen this one before. Supplementary angles are going to be two angles that equal 180. So where complementary only equaled 90, supplementary is going to equal 180. So if you go back to complementary, you have a C and an O. If you put a line on the C, you have a 90. So you can remember that complementary is 90. Supplementary, you can see two C's make an S. So 90 and 90 is 180. Or you can put a line through your S to make an 8 for 180. So if we're going to look at this, we can say label our angle. So we have, we do in fact have a straight line right here, and that is made up of angle ABD and angle DBE. And they do in fact create a straight line or 180 degrees. We can also say we have ABC plus CBE to equal 180 degrees. So remember, if it's a straight line, it's 180 degrees. But again, you can see here we also have our opposite or our vertical angles here as well. I think there's only two more left for us to look at. Alternate interior angles, exactly what they sound like. So interior is inside, alternate is opposite side. So when we have two parallel lines, so the symbol for parallel is going to be just two lines straight up and down. So we can say that AD is parallel to FG. They're not going to touch. And then we have this CH line. This is called a transversal. I'm not sure why that keeps happening. A transversal is just going to be a line that goes through two parallel lines. And what happens is it creates angles on the outside of our parallel lines, and it creates angles on the inside of our parallel lines. So we can see here, if we're looking at alternate interior, then we are only going to be looking inside our parallel lines. And we can see here that we have angle ABH, and we have angle, ABH, and then CEG. These are on opposite sides. So these are going to be equal to each other. So we can see, let's make a little note, line AD and line FG are parallel. Notice the symbol for parallel is these two, like the two L's in the world, to each other. HC is called not sure why that keeps happening. A transversal. Seems to be when I make an A. All right, so it says angle. I'm going to go ahead and erase some of this so we can see what's going on a little bit better. So it says angle ABE, which is here, ABE, and angle GEB. It says they're equal, and you can see that with the one line. That is because they're on opposite sides of this transversal, and they are on the inside of the parallel lines. We also have DBE and FEB, denoted with the two lines. Those are also equal because, again, they're still on opposite sides of the transversal, and they're inside the parallel lines. Corresponding angles are angles that are in the same spot. So, corresponding angles are located in the same position with respect to each other. Thus, they correspond to each other. So if you look right here, I'm going to go ahead and put some numbers. I'm only going to look at the angles on this part, and then I'm going to look here. So if I look at my angles here, I can label these angle 1, angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4. Over here, this is a different parallel line, so I'm going to call it angle 1. It's in the same spot, angle 2, angle 3, and angle 4. So we can see here that if I trace some of these, it says CBD, which I gave a number 2, and B, which is here, BEG, also has a number 2. So one is on the first parallel line and one is on the second parallel line, but they're in the same spot, so they are going to be equal to each other. If I looked at this next one, CBA, and then I looked at BEF, both of those have a 1, right? They're both in the upper left of each parallel line, so they are equal to each other. They correspond. We have 3 that corresponds, and we have the 4s that correspond. So what I would like you to do is there is a Your Turn page, and I would like you to try this, and then we are going to come back together tomorrow and talk about it.